everyone, welcome to M.A.D.E.'s YouTube channel. A couple days ago, I sat down with Dr. Maraika Gooding in honor of World Children's Day. We spoke about young people's rights, well-being, and voices. This topic and World Children's Day theme for 2025, which was My Day, My Rights, is extremely important to me and also to M.A.D.E., as we are a youth-led NPO and we focus on youth development, empowerment, and how we can uplift communities in Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Maraika Gooding is not only a psychologist, but has also worked as a teacher, a mentor, a writer, and a journalist, and has authored a couple of books. So it was amazing to hear her insights and experiences. I really hope that you enjoy the video and try to remember that World Children's Day is every day. Your voice matters. What you want to stand up for and what you speak up for matters. So enjoy the video, share it, and have fun.
Experience as a young person, I think I had you grow up at a time when your grandmother, especially if you have a grandparent around, they pass on that message that, children must be seen and not heard,
Mm-hmm.
and well, somehow I always resisted that and found ways to speak. And as I said, I had people who encouraged that. My father, I definitely encouraged that. And I met teachers, especially school at secondary level, that really encouraged that. I wanted to be a teacher since I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. Playing school. I don't know, you all don't know about that now, but we played school at home, played school. And so there was lots of opportunity without television, everything, to play school. And I found myself always getting the role of teacher with my younger sister, and if we had a couple of people, neighbors over. My first job as a teacher was after A-levels. So I never deviated. That was going to be my career. And after A-levels, I got my first job as an assistant teacher, 3. And I'm being honest, I walked into the classroom in a primary school. I had my own class. And it was such a shock. I was so taken aback. I mean, how old was I? 19 years old?
Wow.
I was so taken aback. And I feel as though it was almost like the first day or first week I decided more was needed. More was needed. And it led eventually to me deciding that I wanted to study psychology. I wanted to be a psychologist, or at least study psychology. That was important. It was not available at university, but I tried to do sociology, and that was another experience. My perspective of the world, I wouldn't say changed, but developed significantly. Being exposed to an understanding and research of the world, the way we see the world and how the world functioned and so on. It had a significant impact on my choices. I eventually did not finish because I wanted to do something practical. Remember, I come from a teacher. Teaching was my first thing. And my second thing was psychology because of my experience in teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I went back into the system as a teacher, and I went to Teachers College.
Okay.
And I was exposed to psychology there. Now, it's a strange thing because I always found that there was a great discrepancy between what we preach as being the right thing and what we need and how we actually lived it out, especially in education. I think I've had a love-hate relationship in education, and working at institutions, simply because we had a lot of plans and so on, but we did not, I felt they weren't implemented in the way that they should.
Okay.
And so for me, there was always a lot of reason to speak to anybody who would listen. I was sent to training programs and so on, and I will say, well, what's going on? At Teachers College, I did psychology, and there where every child is unique, every child is in their individual differences. No two children are alike. But yet, I didn't see this being practiced. Certainly not in the school I came from, where I was teaching, where I was a teacher, I mean. And I did have that experience of, yes, speaking out and standing up for things for my secondary school. But here
Mm-hmm.
was I in the job that I always wanted to be in. And I remember being told, we are learning all these things at Teachers College, but when you go out, it's a different matter. It's as though we just have to go to the beat of whatever the drum is out there. Whatever is happening out there, we just have to go along and accept.
Mm.
And I think I spent a lot of my early career as a teacher protesting,
Mm.
because there were the children with me, there were the children in front of me.
Yeah.
And how was I supposed to implement what they really needed? I believed then, we did not speak of children having a voice then, but I felt the need to bring my students into, well, how do they see this class going? What do they think was important in the class? And so I resisted the idea of using corporal punishment, but having them from the beginning, let's talk about what this class is going to be like. Some children before they came to my class said, Mrs. Gooding not strict. This teacher is not strict. They did not, for them, strict meant the whip or
Yeah.
something like that. And when they came to my class, I said, no, I'm strict. It's in a different way because I'm going to work with you to set the rules, and you are going to follow them because you were part of that. One major rule was that everybody will do their best.
Mm-hmm.
Your best is always good enough.
Amazing. How are we supposed to know? Are we supposed to trust the adults around us?
Initially,
Okay.
you should have adults who are trustworthy, and you need other professionals as you go into the school setting.
Mm-hmm.
But you see how it brings in that whole thing of adults understanding what is required.
Yes. Caring and
So that
understanding.
and that you build an environment that the child, in which the child could feel nurtured and develop
Exactly.
beyond the trust, confidence in themselves
Mm-hmm.
to be able to achieve,
And speak up.
confidence in yourself to be able to achieve, to dream. There are children in our society who have more than other children. And there are a lot of children, and therefore children who have more, we hope that they have what they need in terms of parenting and as well as professionals who could help them. Children with speech disorders, children with difficulties of one kind or the other require health professionals and other people to be involved. And some children and some families have that. And then there are those who don't. How do they dream
Mm-hmm.
when they may not even have the attention of busy parents? Rights, for me, young people's rights are built on needs that are being met.
Okay.
And if they are not being met, sometimes the young people don't even understand what their rights are.
And what do you think children or young people face in being heard and respected?
I think that it begins with that. It begins with significant people who nurture, who see them,
Mm-hmm.
listen, respond. I think we were chatting the other day, and I was telling you about the whole thing of containment.
Yes.
You know, sometimes we see children with so often who are behaving in ways that adults feel is bad behavior, negative behavior, misbehaving, and so on. And in that whole relationship that's supposed to develop, an important need is for the child to believe that somebody is holding them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You could think about it as containment, that somebody is containing them, holding them. You know, I think of somebody has my back, but somebody is kind of have their arms around you, ensuring that you move in the right direction and that you have what you need to make first step, then the second step. Somebody who understands what your needs are. Because from early, as from infancy, you give a child, you feed the child need to be fed, need to be held. Somebody respond when they cry and so on, they get what they need. And it's from that experience, you develop trust. Without that experience, what do you trust in? Do you trust that somebody is going to come and do what is needed? Do you trust that you could get what you need?
Mm-hmm.
So there is that initial containment. And following that, then you move on to reciprocity, where the child shows you affection. You show the child, you know, the child asks, the child receives, the child learns to give. So there is that reciprocity going on. And it's following that, then you build up that relationship where behavior is managed, lessons are being learned, and you know how you need to proceed with, yes, rights, but responsibilities as well. Development proceeds from that. Positive development, I should think.
And I have two questions. First, what if as a young person you don't know how to, I would say, voice your needs or act on your responsibilities properly? How would you how would they voice um their rights or speak up in a way that can be heard or in a way that can be respected?
And that is it. That is one of the challenges that we face in so many societies, including ours. You
Mm-hmm.
know, violence in school has been an issue for decades. And have we made real progress with that? Have we had enough? Because we have lots of good teachers and lots of adults who are working very hard and so on. But have we developed a system, especially to cater for those who don't have all that they need from the significant people in their lives, or who have special needs, who are lost for lack of the nurturing that they really require? And do we have enough professionals, a system and professionals on the ground to attend to them? We get a lot of remarks about how we get rid of. I have worked in two countries, mainly, especially the last 14 years. I've worked outside of Trinidad since since achieving my final qualification in educational child psychology, and I've worked outside of Trinidad. And in both settings, even though you have more more in a more developed environment, there is still that need because the society rolls on in a way that everybody don't have the same support and the same um, amount of resources available for families and therefore for children, for schools, for educators. when needs are not met, that means children, one of the things children have difficulty in is speaking in a way that can be okay. Speaking in a way that their voice, their words, using words that can be understood, or where their behavior is misunderstood because we could see it as bad behavior, we could see it as negative behaviors, we could see it as not belonging in this setting. I remember, and I think I told you that story of this young man who, in one of my schools here in Trinidad, he his behavior was really negative, at least as anybody will look at him and might say, it is really cannot be accepted in this environment. We don't want
Mhm.
children like that. But how does a child reach that level? What happened? What happened to bring that young person, child or young person to the level where an adult find it so unpleasant to be around them? And I remember in looking at him, he was about 15 at the time. This is just one of so many.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, will he come to my office sometime? I was a guidance person, professional at the time. And he did. And one of the first things he said to me as I listened was that they think we're stupid. All of them think we're stupid. They think I have nothing to say. They're making all the decisions. All he wanted was someone to listen. Somehow, we need to focus on developing confidence. Meeting needs is not only saying we're teaching them maths and English, you know. Meeting needs involve giving them an opportunity to shine.
Yes.
Young people need an opportunity to feel good about themselves. They need to know that they're being listened to. They need to know that they could contribute. They need to dream of what they could be in the future.
Mhm.
They need to know how to be community and how to live with others. So it's really important that for each child to feel that way, we can't only have one way of doing it in the classroom, you know? We can't only have one way. How many years we have had chalk and talk is the main thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I have not been in a classroom in Trinidad for a few years, but I'm saying that education is an expensive endeavor. Building our human resource, and that starts from childhood. And many countries get, you know, it could be going well for a while and then we lose it because we feel that we have the resources. We don't have the resources to continue investing in education. But we spend the money later on in all kinds of ways. Our children are developing all levels of anxiety, all kinds of mental illnesses are being, you know, is almost a norm. And then we need more professionals to help with that. But I feel that yes, if there is more attention to needs,
Okay.
and one of the needs is listening, someone listening and providing them with the support and encouragement to be their best selves, to dream, to plan, to work, to accept responsibilities, to find themselves in their communities and the things that inspire them.
So just so I understand, listening to a child, giving them the confidence to speak up, that positively impacts their well-being.
I would say so. But then the child has to know how to speak to be
Mm-hmm.
heard. Anyway, and what are your rights? You know, if you have a group of 10 children between, let's say, 10 and 15, what would you say with, what do you think they will say about their rights? I wanted to do that research even before I come here to find out what will they say as their rights? What rights, you know, do they want to claim more than any other?
Hmm.
You think they will say they just want to be heard?
I
And
think
what will they ask? What will they say if they are being listened to? What will they ask for? What would young people ask for? Will they ask for, oh, my parents shouldn't be walking into my room without knocking first? They shouldn't invade my privacy. What do you think young people will ask for when they're allowed to speak?
I
What will they
think
ask for?
I think as you said, we need to be educating our rights and our needs. I think if we ask 10 to 15-year-olds or young people, I think they would say, I just want to be heard. I think they want to be listened to, respected. I think a lot of kids right now don't feel that way. And also, I think, I don't know. I don't want to speak for every, child.
No, exactly. You can't. I know you can't. I know you can't. But when I think about it in terms of the right to be heard, the right to be respected, I know I always had something to say. I wanted,
Mhm.
and I feel it's so important that there are enough people around, adults, nurturing, supporting what they need, so that they can have that voice and have that, be able to speak and say what they want. Because it's not so easy to say what you want. It's
Yeah.
not so easy even to know what you want or to know what you need. They need Young people need to be respected because it sounds so it sounds so we say they are the future,
Well,
what
it's true.
our leader said, so but the reality is that we have to provide the support so that they can eventually understand their own needs and
Okay.
work towards achieving that.
And lastly, well, not lastly, but like probably one of the biggest questions, what advice, what piece of advice or message would you like to share with young people about their rights and voices?
I think it's important for young people to have access to more experienced persons, adults, older young people who can work as mentors, who
Mm-hmm.
could understand, show awareness, who have the ability to work with them. Sometimes you might think we just need to work, just young people, but if there are needs in terms of finding your voice, if there are needs in terms of understanding your rights, then you may need some help. And there are people who work as mentors for young people who are really willing to be there for you, not just to make all the decisions or anything like that, but to direct, to kind of give ideas, open them to the world of, to understand what is happening, and where there's their help and their energy and their skills, their talents, you know, where they could direct all that they have there to share. Because young people, that is their purpose. Finding your purpose is to be able to find your abilities, your skills, and be confident about it so that you can share who you are. That's how you make a difference. And sometimes you need someone there who kind of have an idea of it and who can fill in the gaps in terms of help you to develop that confidence and direct someone, help you to direct your energy in different directions. So I feel it's important that young people are able to find a forum that that helps them to feel that they are doing something that's really important and they understand what is needed in different situations, so that being able to listen themselves, to listen to others, to be able to find their niche where they will feel that yes, I can help here, but it takes planning, it takes organizing, it takes um, you setting goals, and that you're looking at ways that you will evaluate what you have achieved. You need to be able to focus on something that really is important and really matters. And I think that there is um, untapped resources in terms of energy and untapped resources in terms of where do they focus their ideals and all that they want to see happening? Where do they focus it? In some ways, I think many young people could be bored just being lost in social media and not having access to a forum where they can actually see themselves growing and contributing. So that we need to see that happening. They need to see that happening. They need to have that experience. And so I would say, find opportunities to give to others, find opportunities to find yourself, find opportunities to show respect and receive respect, find opportunities to make the difference that you want to make in the world. I think your voice develops, you will develop that voice there, because rights come with responsibilities.
One last question. What's one thing adults often forget about the youth's perspectives or rights?
Sorry?
What's one thing adults often forget
Oh,
about the youth's perspectives or rights?
yes, I didn't know. Maybe how much we inspire and we guide, or
Mm-hmm.
how much we can inspire and guide. But however you look at it, sometimes I think young people, older people, young people say they forget they were children. That young people sometimes forget what it was what they were like as children.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a bit more. It's like you are actually there to inspire. You are actually there to guide these young people. It is not true that we bring children in the world and we don't know what to do. It cannot be true. We contribute to what they develop, and I think sometimes older people, parents, and everybody else forget that that is our role.